Hey everyone, Kareem Rae here, and today we have Macklin Robertson, who is a professional footballer at Syracuse Pulse, which is a new team that I just found out right now in the NISA League. Macklin, how's it going?
Good, sir. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, can you take us back in time and just share how you got involved into the beautiful game?
So all the way back to childhood or back to when I turned professional? How far are we back? How far back are
Uh,
we going here?
let's go all the way back and just give us like, obviously it was a long time, but just give us like a glimpse.
Glimpse. Okay. Long story short. So I actually grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the Midwest. Um, and that is not, or was not at the time, a particularly large soccer town. It is now with FC Cincinnati, and they're doing quite well now, which I'm happy about. But I actually grew up playing baseball more than soccer. I played football as well. I was a multi-sport athlete. My parents were very not gung-ho on the idea, but wanted me to experience as much as I could before I made a decision. And I really did fall in love with soccer. So by the time I was about 14 years old, so a freshman in high school, I made the decision that I wanted to pursue soccer full time. So I did that. At the time, this was before academy teams required you to play 9 months of the year. So you could still play high school and academy. So that's what I did with a no longer existent academy team called Ohio Elite. They only lasted for about 2 years in the academy system. After that, I went to Columbus Crew Academy. And then for my final year, my senior year of high school, I just played with a local club called Metro FC. It was just compiled of a lot of guys that had already committed to colleges. And so we were really there to just stay in shape and have fun. Before the year, to be honest, Kareem, I did not have intent to pursue professional soccer after college. I was more just using it as a way to get in college and to pay for college. So I went a little bit roundabout. I originally committed to the University of Cincinnati verbally, redacted that, and then committed to a smaller Division II school called Ohio Dominican University in Columbus, Ohio. Played there for a year and a half, and then was scouted out by the Columbus Crew's first team, actually trained with the starting goalkeeper at the time, Matt Lampson, and he was one of my role models getting into that was one of my big things, is he inspired me to get into professional soccer, took me under his wing, and gave me the opportunity to thrive and really I'm thankful to him to this day for what he's done for me. He actually just retired and took up coaching at the Houston Dynamo. So congratulations, Matt Lampson, for that. Always got to give a shout out.
Nice, shout out to him.
Yeah, he was great. And so I trained with him, played with him throughout the entire off season. And I played with some of the second and third string goalkeepers at the time. And I kind of came to the realization that, hey, I'm not quite there yet. I could be, though. I could see it. And so I was thinking about going to med school at the time. I actually got my degree in microbiology. So after that, I was like, I don't know, about 8 years in school. After more so than that, I wasn't feeling it. I'd rather kick a ball around for a living. So that's what I decided to do. I transferred 3 weeks after we were kicked out of the NCAA tournament at Ohio Dominican to DePaul University in Chicago, played 2 years there, where I tore my ACL before my senior season. And then finally came back after 6.5 months, played that, ended up not going into the MLS draft and went to a pay-to-play combine in Florida, did well there, completed my degree early, signed with the North Carolina Railhawks, now the North Carolina FC. My rookie season was in 2016. So that is like the super compiled version. I took you from 5 years old basically to 2020. I think I signed when I was 20 years old. So yeah,
you did to 2020, 5 to 2020.
No. So 5 to 20 years old. That
Got it.
was my soccer career right there, from 5 until professional contract at 20. So
Nice.
yeah, I tried to
How
shorten
old
that
were
as much.
you? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
How old were you when you signed your first professional contract?
I believe I was 20, or I turned 21 like the week after or something like that. So I actually completed my degree like a semester early, because I had originally been invited to San Jose's preseason camp, the MLS team. And then I decided not to pursue that because at the time the NASL, they had a lot of good money in the league. And the coach that I had played for in the InfoSport Combine, Colin Clark, he was interested in me, and he was the head coach of Carolina. I thought it was a good opportunity for me to get playing time. And so he said, hey, come back, come see me in a couple months after you finish your degree. We'll see what looks good here. I came down after I finished my degree. After a week, they offered me a contract, and the rest is history. So
Nice. And then, from there, you said, who'd you sign your first professional contract with again? Sorry.
So at the time, they were called the Carolina Railhawks. They're now North Carolina FC.
Carolina FC. Playing at what league are they playing in right now?
They are now in the USL 1. They were playing in the USL Championship, and then previously, when I played for them, they were in the NASL.
Got it. I mean, I'm here looking at your Instagram right now. I see a lot of Tampa Bay Rowdies. So was that your second signing after them?
So actually, I spent 2 years at North Carolina, and then I ended up signing actually after them with the New York Cosmos.
Yeah.
Played a year there, actually got injured, only ended up playing 6 games, took another 6 months recovering, and then signed with the Tampa Bay Rowdies for 2 years after that.
Nice. And were you with the Tampa Bay Rowdies last year, 2021?
No, I was with them from 2019 and then COVID year 2020.
COVID year 2020. Okay, got it. I was there. I was at Tampa Bay Rowdy Stadium in 2021. So I was curious.
Okay.
Why I may have seen you play that game possibly, but I guess not.
Yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned that you signed at 20 years old, you said?
Yeah.
So how did, take us back in time, and how did that feel to sign your first professional contract at 20 years old?
To be honest, as anyone would feel that's pursued this for a long time and put a lot of effort into it, it was very relieving to have all of your hard work justified in the end. But also it was also a bit of a trigger in my mind. I'm someone that I'm an Army brat, so I was raised to be kind of a soldier and always prepared for every situation. And so as soon as I signed that contract, for me, it was okay, like now this is my job. No longer am I a student athlete, like I'm an athlete, and my contract and my money directly depends on how I perform on the field. So, who knows how long I can do this. I've already been injured very recently. I started playing pro a year pretty much after I had torn my ACL. So it was quite a transition to come from, I played good soccer in the Big East, which is where DePaul played, the league they played in. But yeah, that transition to play in the NASL, where I'm playing with guys on the cover of FIFA, games and playing Premier League teams, that's a big jump up. So it was great, but also it was a great realization, I'll say, to just recognize where I was and what I had to do to achieve everything that I wanted to do from then on out. So
nice. And let alone you're a goalkeeper, right? And
Yes, sir.
usually teams only have 2 or 3 goalkeepers on their roster, which makes it even harder to become a professional goalkeeper. So
For sure.
I want to quickly just give a shout out to Riley Foster, we've had on the podcast, plays on Liverpool FC's women's team, and Jared
Awesome.
from OPSM Pro Agency, which is also a goalkeeper. So I think you're like the 3rd or 4th goalkeeper that we have on the podcast. So I always find it very impressive for goalkeepers to go pro, because again, there's only two or three spots for you guys. So talk a little bit about that, and how hard was it for you to break in?
Yeah. So first off, that's awesome. Liverpool FC, shout out to her. Goalkeeper union. There's like you said, it's a very unique position. So you do have to have a unique mindset. There's a common saying that goes that all goalkeepers are kind of crazy. That is absolutely true. So shout out to what would you say your name was?
Riley Foster.
Riley Foster. If she's playing at Liverpool, actually, I've had some correspondence with Johan Trachtenberg, the goalkeeper coach at Liverpool, with Alisson and Adrian and all of those goalkeepers. So great organization over there. They're awesome. But yeah, so having been a third string, second string, and starting goalkeeper, I know what it's like. It's an interesting work environment to, like I said, your contract directly depends on if you're playing and how well you're playing. You know, a lot of these contracts have incentive bonuses, especially when you get into the leagues like the USL Championship or especially MLS. So your contract and how much you're paid at the end of the month can be double or triple what your base salary is based on how well you're performing. So when you show up training every day, you still have to find a balance between being a good teammate as well as being a good training partner, as well as, you know, showing to the coach and to the staff, doing your job, being prepared for your opportunity, and then seizing it when that happens. Speaking of Liverpool, I think that's a good situation to talk about. I believe Adrian was the second string at Liverpool behind Alisson. Kind of shaky. And to be fair, I've played against Adrian. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. But the younger goalkeeper, I can't remember his name. It's like Kelleher. I believe he's Scottish or something like that. But anyways, he's a very young goalkeeper. Came in his opportunities that he was given by Jurgen Klopp, did very, very well, and now has since then moved up to the second string position. And that's where it's going. That's what I'm talking about in terms of seizing the opportunity. That transition can happen really quickly along with injuries. So what I would say, just as an overall idea of how would I say, thriving in a goalkeeper core, whether you're a 3, a 2, or 1, is to just be the best teammate that you can, continue working hard, and do the best job that you can when you're called upon.
Nice, great points. And you mentioned so many different things going on there, being a great teammate, being competitive, seizing your opportunity. There's so many components to it that you got to be on your A game. And, you know, I want to ask you, because you're a full-fledged pro, and are you in your veteran year right now?
So I just turned 28 recently. So after I turned 25, I said I was on the downhill. But for goalkeepers, it's, especially with guys like Buffon, our prime is not even probably around 29 to 33. So I'm just now approaching my prime. I feel really good. I haven't had injuries since the New York Cosmos. I'm getting a lot of game time and game minutes here. I'm playing really well, I think. And our team is performing well. There's some challenges with being on a new expansion team, just in terms of logistics and stuff like that, and forming a new team so quickly, but we're overcoming them and performing really well. And I'm excited to be playing and you know, being in the net and getting paid to kick a soccer ball around. So yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. So you're basically in your veteran year, right? Like, you know, players dream of playing for 10 years, let alone 5. So you're almost at that decade.
I'll say, yeah, I think I'm at like 8. This will be 8 years. So
you're
I'm getting up there. Not
2 years away, 2 years.
I always end up thinking of it in the opposite way. Like it's a bad thing, you know, God, I'm getting so freaking old. But yeah, I mean, it's a grind, you know, I'm not going to lie. I brought up quite a few injuries, you know, that's at a certain point, it's just part of it. You know, you get on with it and you roll with the punches. And if you aren't able to, I can tell you right now, you're probably going to not make it in the professional environment. I'm a very honest guy, and that it is what it is. If you're not willing to work harder than everyone else, and as my dad said, sleep on locker room floors, it's not quite there anymore. We've got some great CBAs in place in the MLS and in the USL, and even in NISA, there's some good money, USL 1 as well. So soccer is on the up and up. If you are willing to be effective, do a job, and work hard to get good at that job, you'll be successful.
100%. And that leads into what I wanted to ask you, because you're basically a veteran now, is that what advice would you give to the next generation of goalkeepers that want to go pro? What advice would you give to them? What are 3 things?
Oh, Lord. I'll say it is complex, and there is a lot that goes into it, but I do coach a lot of younger and also older, more experienced goalkeepers. And the one universal thing that comes to my mind is just having a positive attitude and willingness to learn and always grow, especially as a player, a goalkeeper, and a human being. because not only when you get to the professional environment, just like any other job, you have to be a good coworker. If you're not a good coworker, no one really wants to work with you. You're not very effective in your job, especially on the field when you're trying to build trust with guys. And as a goalkeeper, someone that, can see the entire field, the entire pitch, you have to give directions, essentially be an 11th man, be good with your feet and keep the ball out of your net. There's a lot more being asked of goalkeepers in particular. You really have to hone in on always being on the change, just in terms of your tactics and what you train, because the game is ever changing. Being a good teammate, like I said, in order to build that trust, and always working on yourself, because in order to keep yourself honest and healthy, that's, I would argue, a large part of being a professional that not a lot of people understand, is continuously being healthy. I mean, sometimes I can't even get up and go to the grocery store because I have to sit here and rest and ice my Achilles 5 times a day because it hurts so bad from striking it on the turf hundreds and hundreds of times. That's part of it. And, I love it. It's worth it to me, but it's not worth it to everybody. So, that's something you have to be honest with yourself about and be willing to learn and lean into. So if you do that, like I said, you'll be successful.
Absolutely. Great points. You mentioned that you came across a lot of injuries. How have you always been able to come back stronger and continue your career?
Those 3 points that I just brought up, just continuously learning and growing and continuing to work harder and harder, because as I get older, I found that the things that used to come easy to me don't as much. I got to continue to hone in on them, but also I am a very logical person. I like to approach things analytically. And so that's all I do. I realize, well, if every year I got to do 2 or 3 times more, that's fine. Maybe I find an exercise that's more efficient, a new warm-up routine that works for me, whatever it's got to be. I mean, I'm spending my entire day pretty much taking care of my body and figuring out for the next day what I need to do, and studying game film for the next team, tactics, what I need to be prepared for, what guys' tendencies are, where they're going to shoot, what they're going to do. You could spend 24 hours a day going over all this stuff. It's just how much willingness you can put into it. And just in terms of injuries, I would say that I've learned from every injury that I've gotten, and that's why I've managed to not get injured for these past 4 or 5 years, knock on wood. So yeah, it's what it is, those 3 things.
Got it. What things changed once you signed, pro?
In terms of what, my day-to-day, or
just, you went from being a student athlete to a pro, on and off the field, things that changed.
Probably how I prioritize my day around my diet, my workouts, and my sleep schedule. Sleep became a lot more important. Workouts and exercising and stretching became a lot more important. I probably spent a good 2 or 3 hours after spending 4 or 5 hours training and at the gym, going to a physical therapist and doing dry needling and treatments and PT thing, just to manage to keep my knee in shape to when I inevitably tear it again, a year and a half later. But like, that managed to keep me in the game and functioning. And yeah, it's just finding that balance and able to transition from student, where you're going to class and doing this, that, and the other, to now it's all right, it's all about soccer. It's hard to be all in on certain things. So I say that's the biggest thing to point out.
Got it. You mentioned that, something along the lines of the Army. You grew up.
Yeah, I was an Army brat. My dad was in the Army, so I grew up on a lot of Army bases and around military families.
So did you train in the Army as well?
No. Well, me and my siblings might argue that sometimes, that we were raised in the military, but no, I never joined the military or anything like that. No, but I would say that I do treat my training and the way I try and influence teams and command the pitch. I derive a lot of my tendencies and ideologies and even my commands on the field to my teammates from military and Army tactics.
Nice. And you mentioned goalkeepers have to be a little crazy. you know, you mentioned baseball and football too. Going back in time, those were two sports that you also played. But what made you, you know, dive more into soccer instead of those two other sports? Because those two sports in the US are way bigger as of now than soccer. But coming 2026, Canada, US, Mexico will be hosting the World Cup. So
Yeah.
that will change things
Oh, yeah.
hopefully. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I grew up in a time where when you played soccer, you get called a grass fairy, and now it's like, oh, you're super cool if you play soccer. You're Cristiano Ronaldo. No, I think I could tell you that it's one of those things where I just wanted to be different, or, I wanted to stand out from the crowd, or, something like that. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think my parents instilled really good principles in me, and they always just said, do what's more fun. Because if it's more fun, you're more passionate about it. If you're more passionate about it, you work harder at it. If you work harder at it, you'll be more successful at it. So I was like, well, soccer's more fun. They're like, okay, none of us have ever played soccer before, so good luck. And so, yeah, they just kind of supported me in the journey there, and I did what I had to do to make it happen.
nice. Good points. Those are really good points. Did you have an agent help facilitate your career?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's an interesting one. So I won't name names on the first one, but I did have an agent straight out of college that I didn't utilize to negotiate my first contract. He kind of just looked it over, and I did sign with him for about a year and a half. I would just say it wasn't the best experience. Ended up leaving that agency within, like I said, about a year and a half. After that year and a half, I did really, really well. I shut out Swansea City when they were in the Premier League at the time, had guys like Tammy Abrahams and Leroy Fourer and Lucas Fabianski on the team. And so I was looking for a good contract. I wanted to have a good agency. I got hooked up through a German international teammate, Marcel Kanzoira, Axel Bierhoff, and he works with an agency called First Wave Sports and Bierhoff Rheinstag AG. And so I ended up signing with both of them actually back in 2018, I believe. And I've been with them ever since. They work really well for me, and they've negotiated all of my contracts since then, and they support me on and off the field and get me where I need to go.
Nice. What is it that they're doing that you stuck with them throughout these years and that you enjoy being, working with them?
So the thing that I appreciate the most is just the communication as well as the honesty. I mean, I'm sure a lot of guys have known, that agents or not known, but just been told to look out for agents that are not in it for the best interest of their clients. Businesses are about money at the end of the day. I understand that, but definitely try and find someone that at the end of the day, I know when I call my agent, Stefani Miglioranzi, that if he doesn't answer the phone, he's either going to text me or send me a voicemail within 5 minutes, and he's going to call me back within a day, and he's going to solve whatever problem I have, whatever issue is going on. And so that's great for me. I appreciate that. He's honest with me about contracts and points out specific details because I don't know anything about that stuff. There's been quite a few occasions where I would have blundered something horribly and he pointed it out and got it sorted. So for me, that's the biggest one, is the trust and the communication. So, yeah.
Nice. You mentioned that the club that you're with now, Syracuse Pulse, is a new franchise in the NISA League. I'm very interested to tap into that. Is this their first year operating their club, or?
Yes, sir. First year.
So, and this is your first year with the club as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Nice. So it's obviously you're probably getting some insight into the operations and seeing what's going on with the logistics, so on and so forth. How how's the club doing, and what are you seeing on your side right now?
Well, just in terms of the team wise, I came here particularly for the head coach, Peter Fuller. He used to be the head coach at Chattanooga in NISA as well, Chattanooga FC. And so I came here for him. I'm a big trust and loyalty kind of guy. Peter Fuller, not that I've known him for that long, but just talking to him the short time that I did, I felt he was a really great guy and a coach that I wanted to play for. that's another bit for me as an older player that I've come to appreciate, is just developing those good relationships. So I came here for him. He painted a project that seemed like that was really good and really promising, and I wanted to be a part of it. And so I did, and jumped right on. Like I said, there are some challenges just coming into a new league with a new team, but honestly, it's been a great experience. As an older player, I've never really been involved in team operations like I have now. And that was something that Peter Fuller was honest with me coming on, was that I would be taking more of a leadership role and a role in training and making bigger decisions like that. And so I knew that coming in, and it's been great. It's been an awesome learning experience. All of the employees here are freaking fantastic. The team and the guys here, I mean, I know I'm biased, but we're the best team in the league. We have the best players in the league. If we don't end up making a run into the playoffs, and I mean, I hope winning it at the end of the day, I'd be very surprised, despite, being a very new franchise. That's not common, but I have a lot of faith in the employees here and the guys that I have working around me. So overall, it's been good. It's been great.
Nice. That's really good to hear. And NISA's, it's a fairly new league, fairly new National Independent Soccer Association. A lot of new clubs are joining the league as well. Yeah, and NISA is Division III in the U.S. soccer pyramid, so it's definitely up there in the professional world, and it's continuing to grow as all the leagues will for 2026. So that's awesome. And again, you have experience with Tampa Bay Rowdies, which USL Championship, which is Division II, right underneath the MLS. Can you talk a little bit about, did you ever have aspirations to play in the MLS?
Yeah, of course. So at the time when I joined the league, it was a bit different, and there was actually more opportunities for money in the NASL. They tried to function and did function as a more European model in terms of league. There was no salary cap. So like I said, I was playing with guys on the cover of FIFA. Raul and Senna were playing for the New York Cosmos. Guys that played for Madrid and are literally legends of the game. So it was, for me, it was a great place at the time. I got to play when I was young, and it was close to my family. I had family in North Carolina, so I wasn't too concerned with getting into the MLS right off the bat. I had turned down the opportunity to go to preseason with San Jose just because I had heard the way they did contracts, and like with my recent injury, it just wasn't smart. I work with and been sponsored by HPG, which is John Bush. If you know who he is, he's one of MLS's like legendary goalkeepers, top 3 goalkeepers of all time. And he's been a really great mentor to me. One of the things
you said,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, you said that he's sponsoring you?
So his company HPG sponsors me and has sponsored me for gloves for almost 10 years now. Yeah, I've known him since I played at DePaul University, and he was with the Chicago Fire at the time. And then we ended up playing each other. He coached me, and we trained together in the first team of the Chicago Fire, and he sponsored me with gloves. And then when I signed with North Carolina, he was actually with the Indy 11 at the time. And so we played against each other in the NASL, which was a pretty awesome experience, before he retired at, I believe, 42 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and he just signed, actually, he is the head goalkeeper coach now for Hibernian Football Club. So he's doing well, and he's a great role model for me. But the thing that always stuck out to me and what he told me is, it's not how quickly you get into the MLS. It's not necessarily your route to get into the MLS. It's how long you stay in the MLS when you get there. And so for me, like I said, I'm still, I'm still approaching my prime. I'm still getting there. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's in the cards. I'm playing well right now and getting games and minutes. And if we continue to do well, we'll see what's in the future.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And connection, this is my first interview where I heard, well, not necessarily first interview, but like you went really in depth with your relationships and how important they are, and the trust factor and honesty. So those are really strong points that you want to go based off of that you've mentioned and went in depth with, which I really like, and thank you for sharing that on the podcast. Leading towards the last question, what's your most memorable soccer moment?
Oh, so I've actually gotten that one before. A guy that runs a blog, a sports blog, Ross, I think it's Tales from Sports, asked me this question. It was greatest moments in sports. So I'll just give you the kind of condensed version of that. But it was actually it was in 2018, 17, maybe 17. International friendly. I was playing with North Carolina, and we were playing against Swansea City, who was in the Premier League at the time. They had Tammy Abrahams, Lucas Fabianski. Fabianski at the time was like one of my idols. I mean, I grew up watching this guy on TV, and like actually modeled a bit of my goalkeeping style after him. So playing against them just right off the bat was phenomenal. I ended up playing the entire second half, did really well, got some early touches on the ball, and probably 10 minutes into the second half, left winger comes down the side, serves in a cross, probably right on the 6. Jordan Furr, who is a Netherlands international player, heads the ball down, and I actually end up going across and making the save. One of the best saves I've ever made in my entire life. And it was kind of a really good culmination for me of all the hard work that I had done throughout those 15, 20 years at that point to make that save against, someone who's like Tammy Abrahams, who's playing at Roma right now. I was just some no-name Midwestern boy who grew up playing baseball more than soccer. So to go out there and do something like that and then end up getting the shutout, I ended up making a couple more really, really good saves. And after that, I didn't really think I would have an opportunity after North Carolina. But after that, I ended up starting and playing into the NASL playoffs, and we went to the semifinals. And I got interest actually from Swansea City, and quite a few other teams. And so after that, I signed with the New York Cosmos and just kept rolling with it. And here I am now, 8 years later. So it's pretty good moment, pretty memorable.
Nice. And I don't know if you've checked it out on our podcast, but I've interviewed a couple of other guys from different teams in the NISA League. So it's cool to have, to meet you guys and have you guys on the podcast to share your story with the next generation that are growing up now that want to go pro. So that's awesome. And honestly, this is a new team. I haven't seen your team yet. I'm going to check it out right after this podcast to look into it. I've looked at a lot of clubs, like, in the NISA League and all the other leagues, but I need to check this one out because this one sounds exciting.
We're fun to watch. I'll definitely tell you that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out. But leading into our last variations of questions, 10 fun speed questions, so you got to answer them fast.
Oh goodness! All right, we'll see how quick I am. I am a goalkeeper, so it's not necessarily our forte.
All right, who's your favorite team?
Manchester City. No one get mad at me for that. I supported them because of Joe Hart. So don't crucify me, please.
I'm a Liverpool guy, so I'm against.
Okay, it's all right. I understand totally. Liverpool is a fantastic team.
Who's your favorite player?
Goalkeeper or field player?
Both.
Goalkeeper, Jan Oblak. Field player, Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, quality. Kevin's crazy, man. This guy's nice.
Yeah.
What are your favorite boots?
Boots?
Yeah.
Tiempo Legends.
Favorite food?
Skyline cheese conies.
Favorite artist musically?
Musically? Oh gosh. I'm pretty musically illiterate, so that's a tough one for me. Metallica.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Do you play FIFA?
No, I don't. I'm just a Call of Duty player.
Okay. Call of Duty is good. Call of Duty is good.
I'm like the only pro athlete that can't play FIFA, I think.
I'm gonna skip that one then. 2 goals in a game, player. Or would you rather score? Oh, not 2 goals. Would you rather save 2 PKs in a game, or would you rather have a game of like 15 good shots and or would you rather have 2 PK saves or 10 or 15 crazy shot saves in the game?
I'm gonna be a little bit cheeky with this answer, but definitely the 2 penalty kick saves, because then I'd get an incentive bonus for penalty kick saves. I wouldn't
wow.
get an incentive bonus for the 15 crazy saves. I mean, they'd appreciate it, but you know, I'll be a little bit greedy here.
No, that's good. That's good. I like that. And would you rather score? Oh man, would you? I'm not even gonna ask this one. Skip. This
I'd
is
love to score a goal. I mean, that'd be great.
I know, right? I know. I'll go to the last one. If you were a coach and you were able to sub in any player in history to win you a game, who would that be?
Oh gosh, I have to answer that quickly. Oh Jesus, sorry, I hit my microphone. That's how crazy of a question that was. To win a game, good Lord, I don't know. Zinedine Zidane. I mean Zidane. Yeah, I feel like that's maybe a cop-out answer. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one. You'd have to give me a little bit on that one. That's a tough one to answer quickly.
For sure. All right. Well, was there anything that you wanted to add in, or?
Oh yeah, no. Well, thank you so much for having me. I did check out some of your, videos and podcasts and YouTube stuff, and I think what you're doing is great. It's really professional and awesome. And like I said, I do a lot of coaching in my off time. I run basically my own private goalkeeper academy, and a lot of this stuff I discuss and help with my young goalkeepers already. So I really appreciate, you doing essentially the same thing and assisting and helping people get to the next level, because I think that's important. I grew up in a time where I had to figure it out myself. And although that was helpful, the game is ever changing and it's a lot more popular now. So to hear from guys that have been through it, I mean, I've literally been through it at every level. I've played NISA, even though I haven't played in the MLS yet, I've played against beat MLS teams plenty of times. So, I know I was roommates with Matt Turner, the, starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team. So like, I know, and shout out to him as well. He taught me a lot of this stuff about contract negotiations. Brilliant guy, brilliant goalkeeper. I hope he succeeds at Arsenal, and I hope he starts for the U.S. men's national team. Nothing against Zach Steffen, but fantastic. So fantastic stuff. I really appreciate it, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Can you quickly shout out your private training? Do you guys have like Instagram or something?
Yeah, I mean, so I do have like a smaller Instagram that is just about my private training. I think it's just mr.goalkeeping. But if you want, you can just follow my regular Instagram page, the One Big Mac, and I'll post updates on that.
Nice, guys, check it out. And Macklin, I just want to, before we go, I just want to thank you for taking the time for joining us on the One Soccer Nation podcast today.
Thank you, Kareem. Really appreciate it.